Hello, vinyl community. So since the passing of Jeff Beck last week, I've been wanting to do a review of one of his albums, and it was very hard to choose between Blow by Blow, the 1972 Jeff Beck that I posted a picture of, Jeff Beck group with Max Middleton. Max Middleton is actually on all these albums along with Jeff, his keyboard player. 72, Blow by Blow, which I'm going to do 75, and Wired, which was 76 the next year. The album he did with Jan Hammer. And I think I counted 4 drummers on it, besides Narada, Michael Walden, Richard Bailey, Ed Green. So let's get into Blow by Blow. Speaking of a blow to the vinyl community, to the musical community, I don't think since I've been doing the reviews over the past year, there's been a death recently that's been, it hit me harder than Jeff Beck. I saw him on this tour. I saw him at the Capitol Theater, I believe it was 2018. Jeff is just an outstanding guitar player, musician, innovator, mentor to so many people. He's played with everybody, Stevie Wonder. There's pictures with him playing with everybody. Stevie Ray, Clapton, Jimmy Page, of course, on his early albums. Just everybody. Joe Bonamassa was a big fan. On and on and on. Jeff, he was one of the headliners at the Crossroads Festival. You can watch, I think it was the 2007 one. You can watch Bill Murray in the Chicago one introducing Jeff Beck. Jeff fucking Beck. He's funny, Bill Murray. So Blow by Blow, let's get into it. He'd had quite a few albums before this, including the 72 one, and had a car accident, I believe, around 72, 73. So he was out of commit. No, I think he had the car accident actually in between the Jeff, when he had Rod Stewart and Ron Wood was in his first group. Little musical history of Jeff Beck. Most people probably know this. Really got famous with the early Yardbirds, left them because they weren't going in the direction he too pop. He wanted to concentrate on blues and innovating, which he did do. Started his own group and plucked Rod Stewart for vocals and Ron Wood for bass. The early drummer, I think, was Mickey Waller. That was replaced soon by Cozy Powell because Wood and Stewart left to form the Faces, first the Small Faces, then the Faces. And later, of course, Rod Stewart, his own famous solo career, and then Ron Wood went to the Rolling Stones. Jeff Beck, as many may know, was auditioned by the Rolling Stones after the death of Brian Jones and before the Mick Taylor era, but decided not to do it, wanted to do his own thing. Always was a different drummer, always was a lone wolf and wanted to do his own thing. And I think it's what made him great. Let me show you the back of the album as well. So fast forward, so two albums with that band, and played the Fillmore, just outstanding. The Truth album and Beck Ola, and then there was Rough and Ready and the Jeff Beck group, or the Orange album that I mentioned, and that started with the Clive Chapman, Cozy Powell, Max Middleton. Now, when you get into that era, I love that era because it sets up this era, this fusion-y era. Now, this album, Blow by Blow, 1975, on Epic, is same label, Columbia Epic. Let's go down the, which I don't have on here, but I believe it is Wilbur Bailey on bass, and I'm drawing a blank on the drummer. What does it say? Anyway, I'm having a, it's Sunday morning. I'm doing great. All right, so Jeff Beck, Max Middleton, produced by George Martin, recorded at Air Studios. He didn't do this one at Abbey Road. He had recorded, here's the personnel. It's right in front of me. Phil Chen on bass and Richard Bailey on the drums and percussion. He changed drummers a lot. It went from, he loved Cozy Powell. I think he liked Cozy Powell because Cozy Powell looked like him. So let's get into some of the music. Everything's on here, which is one of the reasons I want to do this, because you've got Jeff's compositions. You've got a Stevie Wonder, because we've ended his Lovers, which he dedicated to Roy Buchanan, the great Telecaster player. You've got She's a Woman by the Beatles, Lennon McCartney tune that he does with the voice box thing, right before Frampton made it so popular on the Frampton Comes Alive album. And you've got a lot of jazz fusion, so that's what I want to talk about. When I saw him in 1975, Avery Fisher Hall, New York City, it was Jeff Beck, and who had just come out with this album, and the Mahavishnu Orchestra, who are touring with Visions of the Emerald Beyond. Now, Mahavishnu Orchestra, since their 72 debut, were known as pure fusion, no vocals, straight up jazz. McLaughlin had come out of Miles Davis. But Jeff was flirty. You can hear it in the Jeff Beck group and Rough and Ready, the beginnings of fusion. But this album broke it wide open. Thelonious, which actually is another Stevie Wonder penned song, and the Freeway Jam is probably the most famous cut from this. You Know What I Mean, She's a Woman. I mentioned Constipated Duck. Great titles. Air Blower, because it was recorded at Air Studios. Scatterbrain, because we've ended his Lovers. Thelonious, Freeway Jam, and Diamond Dust. And I mentioned, George Martin was a big part of this. He put strings on the last song of each side. So Scatterbrain's on side one, and Diamond Dust. So they were kind of the ballads, and Jeff said, "Go ahead, do your Beatles treatment." Epic, Orange Label. I got this pretty much when it came out, so I haven't done the Discogs yet on it, but it's pretty much a first pressing, and it's in pretty good shape. It sounds great. I love the Les Paul. I kind of wanted to do this album too because I have a black Les Paul, and I thought of Jeff when I bought it. And I have a 77, and this, of course, was cut in 75, so I don't know if he's new. That's another thing about Jeff. Played many different guitars. When he does Little Wing, he actually plays an upside-down white Fender Strat, which is exactly what Jimmy used, because back when Jimi Hendrix recorded, they didn't have left-handed guitars. So he uses the authentic guitar to get that sound. But he's known to just take guitars off the rack, just go into a music store and just buy whatever it is, a standard issue. He doesn't do a lot of mods. He doesn't use pedals. He doesn't use a lot of effects in his stuff, but he gets amazing sound. I responded to something online this morning that said, well, how does Jeff Beck get the sound that he does? He does a lot of it with the control knobs. You can see the Les Paul there. For those of you who don't play guitar, right? Those 4 knobs down there. One is for volume, and the others are for the sounds and the upper strings, the lower strings, right? The more trebly strings, the bass strings. So he uses those long before Dickie Betts did that on In Memory of Elizabeth Reed on the second Allman Brothers album in '69. But Jeff had been doing it since the Yardbirds days. He's played Tellys, he's played Strats, he's played Les Paul. I mentioned the Jimi Hendrix guitar. And he's just a virtuoso. On the Wired album, just while we're on guitars, and I may do reviews of these other Jeff Beck albums just because they're so good. You can see on the cover he's got the white Strat, and then on the back he's got the black Les Paul again, he toured with the Jan Hammer group after that album, which is also great and has interesting, going back to the Mahavishnu Orchestra, the drummer in the Mahavishnu Orchestra, at the time I saw Jeff Beck with the Blow by Blow tour in '75 was Narada Michael Walden, who's the drummer on Blow by Blow. He got Narada, he wrote a bunch of stuff and does some production credits and is fantastic. So we may do that as well too. What else about Jeff? Big Loss, '78. Big car enthusiast, car nut, known to be a mechanic. In fact, when he had the accident, it was from a concussion from a car accident. I believe that was in '70. I think it was between the two Jeff Beck groups. Any Jeff Beck is great. I'm exploring some of the later, the '80s albums. He did the People Get Ready, which was a comeback album with a lot of covers. He always did a lot of covers. He did Morning Dew. He does Jailhouse Rock. What other covers? I mentioned all of he does Superstition. He had a band with Tim Bogart and Carmine Appice from Vanilla Fudge and Cactus. He's just an innovator. I mean, if there's somebody close to a Miles Davis in rock and roll, I mean, I might put Jeff up there, you know, because the people that played with him. I was even listening to some solo, Tal Wilkenfeld. She's on the Crossroads tour as well, and now he has I believe a drummer and a female bass player. He had been touring prior to his death with Johnny Depp. They did an album together. He was doing John Lennon's Isolation and a song Johnny wrote called Tribute to Hedy Lamarr, in memory of Hedy Lamarr, something about Hedy Lamarr. And yeah, that's Jeff. I mean, Royal Albert Hall, Yardbirds, Jeff Beck Group, Fusion, Jan Hammer. The last really great live album, I think, was the Live at Ronnie Scott's, and he did Day in the Life. He did that, an incredible version of Day in the Life. And he had one more thing. When I saw him in Portchester, he had somebody I had seen before but didn't remember a Wet Willie, who played with the Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead with the lead singer as Wet Willie. He had done an album with him, I guess in the 90s, maybe earlier, and he brought Jimmy Hall to do the vocals, which was great. So that's Jeff Beck. Yeah, incredible album. Jazz rock. When I say fusion, I mean jazz rock. Holds its own with hardcore fusion, Weather Report, Return to Forever, and Mahavishnu Orchestra that I mentioned. Those are my three favorite. There are many more. Larry Coryell and the 11th House. There's Schofield. I wouldn't really call him Metheny jazz rock, but he certainly leans on, he is a guitar player and a young one and played with Jocko. So that's that. Jeff Beck, you will be sorely missed. Blow by Blow, check it out on vinyl. Okay, vinyl community. Next one, if we don't, I'll take a break from Jeff Beck after this one, Blow by Blow, and we'll do F next. And that will be, as I mentioned, a very famous country rock band. Somebody that was in a band with David Crosby. We did Crosby, Stills and Nash, C for Crosby, Stills and Nash last week. And my intention is drop a video every Saturday, okay? All right, have a good one. I went a little over, got talking about Jeff, very excited about Jeff. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow. Check it out if you don't have it, and keep on spinning, vinyl community. Thanks.